Hello, everyone. I'm Mr. Younger. I'm a teacher here at Tidewater Community College. I teach physics and astronomy. I also have quite a bit of record teaching mathematics, but I haven't been doing that here at TCC. But I just thought I would stop and give you an intro to your syllabus for the NAS 130 Elements of Astronomy course. First off, this course is, I think, hands down, this best one semester science course you can take at TCC. It will cover so many different sciences and give you such a good, enjoyable presentation of various topics of science, and when you're done, you'll learn how to identify some constellations. You'll know somewhat how the universe works. You'll understand things like why we have summer and why we have winter, and why the days are longer in certain times of year and shorter in other times of years. Uh, how the planets were made, how galaxies are made, how stars are made, how stars live their lives and how long they live. So all sorts of cool stuff in this course. The textbook we've chosen is really my favorite for the one semester course, and it's Understanding Our Universe by Stacy Palin and George Blumenthal in the fourth edition. The cover is very, and you might have got a binder ready version, or you might have just gotten an e-copy, and that's fine too. It's a really great book. In fact, I like Stacy Palin and some other authors grouped up with her as well for her other two-semester course. So the 21st Century Astronomy is also great. I like these. I've worked on these books myself in terms of writing homework problems. And I think all those problem sets that we have are quite good and ask really the tough questions that need to be asked in such a way that you can really learn and maximize your learning. So I've given you sort of a little highlight of what's to come. You will need a calculator, though I really try to limit the calculations throughout the whole semester. There's maybe two types of calculations you really do. One is sort of just using Kepler's third law. If I give you, for instance, the period of an object orbiting our sun, then you should be able to immediately give me back the semi-major axis, or vice versa. If I give you the semi-major axis of an object orbiting our sun, you should be able to return the period of the orbit in years. So that's one of them. And the other one's just the wave equation. Sort of there's a couple others, but I usually don't even test on those. But the wave equation, at least in this context, is velocity equals frequency times wavelength. And I even give you that in terms of like a circle, where the circle is like this, and you cut it in half. The top half is the velocity, and then down below it are two little slots, frequency and wavelength. So when you have it like that, you can cover up the variable you want. So for instance, I cover up the top half, which is the velocity, then I have frequency and wavelength next to each other, and they look like they're multiplying. And that's actually how you solve for velocity. Similarly, if you cover up the frequency, say, then it looks like velocity is on top of the wavelength. So you divide the velocity by the wavelength, and that's actually how you get the frequency, and so on and so forth. So this is not a very mathematical course. You're now in the homeworks, you might run into other problems like, they'll tell you that it takes 8 minutes for the light of the sun to reach the Earth. And from the reading that the Earth has an average distance between it and the sun of 1 astronomical unit. And then they'll say, how long does it take to reach Pluto? And they'll tell you the number of astronomical units there. Well, that's a simple proportion where you basically say distance divided by time equals distance divided by time. So the distance to the Earth is 1 astronomical unit, where the time is 8 minutes. And then you put Pluto's astronomical units on top and solve for the bottom. Again, that is more for homework, but not something I do on a test. But anyways, it's kind of neat, and hopefully that'll help you with that. Now that I've gotten that out of the way, I want to really just go over your syllabus, which was the main point of having this Zoom meeting. So let me go start by sharing screen. I'm looking for the appropriate screen. There it is. So this is our syllabus, and you'll notice I've actually blacked out my personal information because this is actually going on my YouTube channel, and I don't need anybody having my personal phone number or my personal email address, that sort of thing. So I've got them boxed off. You can see it on your version, of course, because it's there. But basically, this is NAS 130. It's section 001C for the spring 2023 semester. I've got my office hours there, and students are advised to make appointments for all office hours so that the instructor will know to contact them in case I have to miss it for any reason. I can, warn you and keep you from wasting a trip or whatever. One of the main things you got to do though in contacting me via email and is you need to one email me from your TCC student email account. Two, you need to make sure you put your first and last name in it, and three, you need to start the subject line with NAS space 130. If any of those three things are done differently, chances are I will not ever see the email. So that being said, if you do send an email properly, then by all means, you should hear back from me within one school day. And what that means is if you send me a email at 12:01 a.m. on a Monday, then you should hear back from me by 11:59 p.m. on Tuesday. Or if you span over the weekend, say you send me an email at 12:01 a.m. on Friday, then you should hear back from me by 11:59 p.m. on Monday. If you don't hear back from me, that's a good time for you to send me a text via the phone number that's listed on the syllabus. So I do give you my text number. Also, if you have to urgently contact me, maybe you're going to miss a test or something like that, that's a perfect time to send me a text. But again, make sure when you send me a text, you tell me your first and last name and that you're in NAS 130. So this is what the course covers: history of astronomy, its recent developments, stresses the use of astronomical instruments and measuring techniques, and includes the study of observation of the solar system, stars, and galaxies. So we try to go through all of that sort of stuff. We talk about the scientific method, we talk about the history, we talk about the scientific revolution, the Copernican revolution. All these things are mostly done via the textbook, but you can also check out from my YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/Billy Younger Physics Solutions. You can see I've got a lot of videos up there from previous classes, and all of them pretty much apply, and it's pretty much the same topics that were covered here, except that's a little more deep because most of those were done for physics, or for astronomy 130 and 130, 131 and 132, which are the 2-semester sequences. So you can always look for that material there. The general education core requirements are scientific reasoning and written communication. The text required is the 4th edition by Palin, and actually it used to have K, she's no longer on there, but Blumenthal is still on there. But this is the ISBN. Smart work has to be done starting night at Play at the Cosmos. I forgot to erase that. They've discontinued that, but that's just something you can see that's in your syllabus, but it's not actually supposed to be there. So I apologize for that. These things aren't really what's so critical to me. I mean, I want you to read them, and I apologize if all these colors bother you, but I put these colors in here so it reminds me what parts have changed and what parts I haven't changed. But you can read these. These are essentially what we cover throughout the course. But the main thing I'm trying to get out of this meeting with you guys is to let you know exactly how the course runs and how that syllabus points you to that. So on Monday of each week, a 1-week module will appear in Canvas. Canvas is basically when you click on my TCC. Canvas is the place where you find your little courses pages, basically. So each module will include weekly reading and online homework assignments, but it may also include lab assignments and other required graded activities, discussion boards for participation, essays, so on and so forth. Optional but helpful links to videos and other activities may also be in the weekly modules. Additionally, there will be several online tests and one mandatory comprehensive face-to-face proctored test. Actually, I think I've changed that this semester. I think we're having a midterm and a final that has to be proctored. I'm leaning towards you guys either being proctored via the online Respondus lockdown browser and Respondus monitor, so that you're actually monitored by Respondus, the company, and they send you a flag if you are doing anything untoward during the test. The other option would be if you don't have a webcam, or if you don't have a computer with a webcam or with the ability to do to access Canvas, or a computer with the ability to access Respondus lockdown browser, or with a computer that has access to Respondus monitor, or finally, if you have a computer that doesn't connect with the internet very well, that would be a problem as well. Then if any of those things are true, then you're going to have to go to a testing center. Now, if you happen to live near a TCC campus, then the testing center will not charge you, because the TCC testing center does that for free. However, if you're out somewhere you can't do that, you're going to have to find a proctor, and there's services that offer that at local schools, colleges, stuff like that. But that's definitely a thing. I've done it now where there's two. We're going to have a midterm and a final, and those are the most important grades, because those are the grades where I know student A has shown an ID and taken the test as that student, and that student A with that ID is exactly the student getting this grade. So those count quite a bit, like usually on the order of 45 to 50% of the whole course grade. So that's one big thing. So every Monday you're going to get this module, and it'll give you what's due that Monday. And generally the assignments that are due will be due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m. For instance, this week we opened it up on Monday at 9. I think I had it up by, actually I had most of it up by 7 a.m. But anyways, it was all done completely by 5. And then all of that stuff ostensibly was due last night at 11:59 p.m. But since today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and you're supposed to be celebrating that, and I am going to move them, if I haven't already. I can't remember if I've done yours yet or not. I'm going to move the due date back, but anybody that got it done by the original due date, I'm going to give extra credit to. So just keep an eye on that. You should always have some assignments that are due by 11:59 p.m. each Sunday. So just getting the hang of doing that, and all will be good. So how does course work? Well, here's my schedule. It tells you basically what we're going to cover each of those days. You can see we have tests. These where it says tests are online. And then you have, of course, comprehensive midterm. There's the proctored one I told you about. And then a comprehensive final, again, proctored one. It looks like these dates are all proper. There might be, this is the part of the syllabus that's somewhat tentative, so these dates can change, but generally what we're trying to do is, at least while you're going through the more scientifically rigorous portions of the book, we're going to cover exactly one chapter per week. But once we get out of the main science, which is, if I remember correctly, is probably around chapter 5 or 6 is the last of the science chapters, then we'll start doing 1 or 2 chapters, or sometimes even 3 chapters in a given week. When that happens, you'll see there's less assignments. So for instance, this week we had chapter 1, but we had 3 or 4 online quizzes for chapter 1, plus a chapter 1 homework. That's because we're covering 1 chapter, but later when you cover 2 chapters, you might see that the online quizzes will be optional or extra credit, and then the actual homework is going to be the part that counts. So that's how I make up for covering more than 1 chapter per week. You're generally supposed to have roughly a lab every week as well, and the labs can differ quite a bit in what they do. Like this week we had you watch a movie. I actually posted several videos that were also there to help you figure out how to fill out the answer sheet, which is a worksheet where I ask you questions about the size of the universe, the size of different things in the universe, because sometimes people get confused with knowing the difference between a solar system and a galaxy and the universe and the Milky Way and all that stuff, and stellar neighborhoods. So a lot of that questionnaire was about those kind of questions, but a lot of them were also about the Big Bang and Beyond, the video, the feature-length movie written by the History Channel. That's really a good movie. But anyways, it covers most of everything that we do in class in either the 1 or 2 semester astronomy course. So it's really great. But that was one of the assignments you were supposed to have done for lab this week. Sometimes it'll be go out and find the Milky Way, or go out and find the Big Dipper. Or now that you know the Big Dipper, use 2 stars in the Big Dipper for this week and help use it to help you find the constellation of Orion or something like that. So that's how the labs are going to work. Always going to be almost always something you got to turn in, or a quiz you got to take for it, that sort of thing. So there's the schedule. Again, this part's always tentative, but your syllabus is really your contract between me and you, and it's really something that I can't change, other than minor changes to the schedule. I can't change once the drop date has passed, or the last date for you to withdraw has passed. I can't change substantive stuff like how the grading systems works or something like that. This is again me reminding you how to communicate with me via email. Also, it tells you when you should consider texting me as opposed to emailing me. Here's the policies about attendance. If a student misses an online test, that's a serious thing. If they miss a face-to-face proctor test, that's even more serious. So generally speaking, don't miss those tests. The online ones, usually I give you a long time period during which it has to be done. And I usually even give you multiple attempts. I also allow you to use your book, use your notes, use any book you want, use any notes you want. You can even do Google searches. So the only thing I ask is that you not use anything you find on the internet that was made since I posted the test. In other words, one quick way of cheating would be student A takes the online test, does pretty well, immediately takes screenshots or something of the test and then posts it on the internet. Well, that's impossible for you to see if you refuse to look at objects on the internet that were created since the test was open. So that's what I'm trying to shoot at there. Besides, these tests are really supposed to be pretty easy. You get a practice test with them, and the practice test is made more or less of the same bank that I make the test questions for. And in fact, I usually guarantee students that 80% of the points on a given test will come from those test banks that you use for your practice test. So it's really ideal is for you to make sure you read the text material, do your lab, do your homework, and then from there on, just start practicing for the test by taking practice tests. That's the best thing you can do, because the more times you see it, the different questions you get, the more questions you'll see, and the more likely you are to have seen all the questions on the actual test and have a chance to make a really high score. But as you can tell, because all that stuff, it makes it a little less than realistic of what a testing environment is supposed to be like. So that's why I have the midterm tests. You just want to figure out a way not to lean too much on stuff. If you're having to look up more than one or two questions per test, then chances are you're not learning the material like you're supposed to, and that's going to show when you take the midterm. So we want you to learn how to learn and learn when you are learning, as opposed to when you're just getting really good at looking up stuff. There's a science, there's a logic, there's reasoning, there's problem solving skills. All these things you're actually learning by figuring out how to solve these problems and answer these questions in practice tests and tests. So if you're robbing yourself of that by looking it up, then that will affect you in other places, even if you're not a science major. One thing I want to remind students to do is, one, there's very distinct dates after which if you drop, you get an F. So like March 20th for this semester is that date. And there's several things, like if you just skip a test or you don't turn in, 8 assignments in a row or something like that, it's time for me to consider dropping you. And I would probably implement that, but I'm not necessarily going to implement it in a timely fashion. So maybe I don't remember to do it until March 25th. If that's the case, then you got an F. So don't do that. If you guys want to drop, one, you should first contact me. I'm probably going to try to talk you out of it unless your grades are really, really bad or you've gotten really far behind or some major life events going on. I rarely ever recommend someone dropping my class. And students very rarely do poorly in my class. They normally do quite well, getting A's and B's, and normal D students often get C's, and normal B students often get A's, and sometimes you'll get normal C students getting A's. So I really am here to work with you as much as I can. We can set up private Zoom meetings if you need help, that sort of stuff. But the main thing is, if you're going to drop, one, contact me, and then two, go through the whole process of dropping. If you don't know how to do that, then ask your advisor or contact someone in the registrar's office and find out how you go about dropping. Because if you just leave it to someone else, you could actually mess yourself up where you can't even come back to college until you pay back money. So be careful with that. This is very specific instructions about missing a test and about dropping the course, that sort of thing. I do allow you to turn in homework up to 7 days late with points taken away. I think I've got it set to, I want to say around 3% per day, something like that. But you can turn it in up to 7 days late. There's no reason for you to turn in any of that today's or this week's or this previous week's homeworks late, because you get a free use of the SmartWorks page for first, I think, week or two at least. So even if you didn't have your account set up yet, you should still be able to do your homework on time. I've never really had a problem with students in bad behavior, but I do put it there specifically for that. The main thing to remember here is on your tests where you're not allowed to surf the internet or stuff like that, you just cannot have a cell phone or a tablet or anything else that's capable of accessing the internet unless that thing is the thing you're taking your test on and it's got a lockdown browser being used. Anytime someone like that, someone catches you doing something like that, that's just automatically going to be counted as a 0 for that exam. no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So I know some of you are on call for military. If that's the case, let me know ahead of time. But chances are you're going to be doing all this on your own with the Respondus lockdown browser and Respondus monitor anyway. So it's not like I'm really going to walk in on you, because obviously you're doing it at your own house or whatever. Here's the information about inclement weather and emergency situations. The main thing I wanted to get to was this grading policy. Hold on a second. Mouth is getting dry. So I generally have a 10-point scale. And yes, if you make a 89.5 or higher, that's going to be an A, and a 79.5 or higher, that's going to be a B. But you'll notice that I actually give you a little bit more help than that, because instead of a 69.5 to get a C, I give you a 68.5 and you can get a C. And if you're trying to get a D, that would normally come at the 59.5, but I actually allow that to pull up to the 57.5. So I'm really trying to make sure you guys can pass here. So that's the way my grade system works. The online assignments, I'm going to drop your single lowest one, or excuse me, your online tests. I'm going to drop your single lowest one, but they only count as 20%. As I told you, you're going to be allowed open notes, open book, open any book, and open internet. The only downside is you have on average about 30 seconds per question to answer. And if you go over the time, there's going to be a huge penalty. I'm talking like, if you go over by 1 second up to 60 seconds, it's going to cost you 10 points. If you go up by 61 seconds up to 120 seconds, it's going to cost you 20 points. So don't go over the time. So 20% is all those online tests are counting as, and we're going to have several of them, and we'll drop the lowest one, take the average, and that's going to count as 20% of your course grade. The rest of the stuff you do quote unquote online without any interaction or without Respondus or that kind of stuff is your homework, quizzes, labs. All of those are going to count as 35% of your course grade, and I'm going to drop your two lowest. Okay. Your proctored midterm and final will count as a total of 45% of your course grade, because again, that's the one time I know the person taking the test has presented an ID, because that's what you have to do with the Respondus monitor and Respondus lockdown browser. You're going to have to show me your ID next to your face so we can confirm that's you. It's got to be an official ID, that sort of thing. Or if you do it at the testing center, you're going to check it that way. So that's worth 45%. Now, I do have extra credit, and you'll see down here it says special opportunity. Before every test, there will be an optional practice test. It will be short, usually 10 questions, and you can take it as many times as you wish. Each time you take it, it will have different questions than the last time, and only the highest score will count. At the end of the semester, every practice test not taken will receive a grade of 0, and then the average of all of those practice tests will be computed. That average will be divided by 20, and the resulting points will be added to your final course grade. So this is a really big deal. So 5 points on course grade is a really big deal. And if you actually did manage to score at least 100 on every practice test that I put out there, then the average will be, of course, 100. And if you divide 100 by 20, you get 5. So that's literally adding 5 whole points to your course grade. So that is a really big opportunity to improve your course score. Additionally, I sometimes make up assignments, and I'll call them extra credit, like students that turn in their their homeworks by the original due date, which was 11:59 p.m. last night. I'm going to give them some extra credit. What I'll do is I'll just make an extra credit assignment, and everybody that did that will get 100. Everybody that didn't do that will get a 0. But then I'll take, and instead of dropping the 2 lowest, since I added a new assignment, I'll drop the 3 lowest. So those of you who got 0s won't be harmed, but those of you that got 100s, that 100 will replace one of your lower scores somewhere else. But that's the way extra credit works in my class. I haven't decided yet. Sometimes I've had students complain wanting individual chapter practice. I don't know if I'm going to implement that or not, but keep an eye out. If I do, I'll let you know. Those would only be extra credit as well, so they're not anything that would be affected by the syllabus. You don't have to do them, but it might be a chance for you to make even more points. I'm leaning towards maybe offering them, doing just like the practice tests and taking the average of all of them, of your highest score on all of them. And if you whatever you score, divide that by, say, I don't know, 48 or something, just, to give you like on the order of 2 or 3 points. So anyways, that's how the extra credits will work. Here's your key due dates. Your deadline to drop with a tuition refund is 1/24. Again, I very rarely suggest people drop. The deadline to withdraw without academic penalty, i.e. by receiving a W without an F, is 3/20. And then 5/1 is the date of our proctored final exam. And again, I'm saying proctored. That's probably, as long as you have a webcam and a computer that can do all the things that needs to be done, that can be done completely online with yourself. Otherwise, you're going to have to find a proctor, specifically like at the testing center at TCC, to take care of that. So that's basically in its entirety the syllabus. Let's stop sharing for a second and go back to the course, show you what's important here. I'm going to share my screen again, but this time I'm going to share my screen with the actual course in Canvas so you can see what's in there. So there's my course in Canvas, and here I am here. So let's see if I can go back to just the modules. So if you'll notice, this is the generic stuff that sort of comes with every course you have. Respondus lockdown browsers right there. I'll have a Respondus leak up here later, but important documents, i.e. your syllabus, that's right here. As you notice, when I first put them in, it'll just have a name with no date in it, something like this. But as the semester progresses, if I find mistakes, I'll make new ones and it'll get a later date. And if I make a new one still, it'll get a more late date. This no color one is, some students have difficulties looking at a syllabus with different colored text. So I want to make sure I'm ADA compliant with that. So I give this option as well. And obviously, anytime I produce another one, like if I have to make corrections to this one, for instance, by erasing that section I showed you earlier that we no longer do, the Into the Cosmos, excuse me, the at play at Cosmos and the Cosmos, when I erase that, I might make another one, and maybe it'll be 01/17/2023, meaning January 17th, 2023. I'll have a new color version of that there too. You wouldn't normally be able to see this, but here's some links for learning. So there's Astronomy Magazine, which is this is a link to help you learn the constellations. That's one of the things you're going to be doing this semester, is learning some constellations. If not, all of them would be awesome, but you can't see all of them. Here's a website that I actually use so much that I went ahead and bought the book that he published, just to say thank you for his work. It's a great site. It tells good stories and tells you some of the neat things you can see in each of the constellations. It tells you the mythology behind them. It's Richard Dimmons Smith's constellation page. There's also an online planetarium / sky type software. So basically software where you can put in your longitude and latitude, and it'll dial up exactly what the sky looks like at the day that you're looking at it, or any other date in the future or past. Within some reason, sometimes they won't go any further than 64,000 years in the past or 64,000 years in the future or something like that. But generally speaking, just about any time. So you can use this kind of free online software there. If you bought a new book or one of the packages from the student store, you're supposed to get access to the smart work as well as some software that allows you to do that, in which case you wouldn't have to use Heavens Above at all, but you still could if you preferred. Also, there's a link to World Wide Web Telescope, which is basically some really good people got together and decided to take some of the best photos from all the greatest telescopes on planet Earth, and Hubble in space, and now we've got Webb in space that'll probably be feeding us as well. But you can actually, more or less do a virtual look in the sky using a telescope to see a particular thing you want. And then not only that, you can see actual photographs of it. So when we look at a telescope, or when we use a telescope and look through it to look at, for instance, the Orion Nebula, it looks nice. You'll see bright little pinpoints of light that are really bright, and you'll see gas and dust, and it's all sort of just blue. But if you took a time elapsed photo and allowed all the light to come on it, and you use some filters to make sure you can pick out the red, the blue, and the green, and that sort of stuff, what you actually find out is it's a lot more colorful and a lot more details there that you don't get to see. But that can take hours of having the lens open basically while you're collecting light. So these World Wide Web Telescope pictures actually have where someone's taking the time to do all that. So you're getting even not only a look at what you'd see through a telescope, but a look at what you'd see by using an actual camera or CCD, which is what we modern astronomers use, as a CCD camera as opposed to just a regular camera. There's also the important astronomy links. So for instance, they have discussion boards, which are basically, this one's for you to talk about course material and our homework. This one's for you to talk about labs, and this one's for you just to talk about stuff. Okay, just as long as y'all get along, it's all fine. But it's inevitably you can post a question there about something you don't understand, and inevitably another student's going to probably understand it and help you. I hope that's the way it works. So I want you all to look at it occasion. I might even make up 1 week a lab assignment of doing that sort of thing. But there's also my YouTube channel. Again, it's www.youtube.com/Billy Younger Physics Solutions. Notice the B, the Y, the P, and the second S are all capitalized. There's also a Google Docs page. So when I work out notes, for instance, that's where the notes will go. Like if I ever teach, for instance, some technique, then I'll take notes on electronic format and then I'll upload them there. Also, answers to homework questions I might put in there as well. And then there's links to other astronomy courses. So there's a crash course in astronomy by Phil Plait that's made by PBS. It's not really quote unquote course so much, but it's 40 some videos on the order of 15 to 20 minutes each of major topics, at least the concept of it. And it's pretty good. Phil Plait's a good astronomer. He went to, I think, got his PhD in astrophysics from UVA. Pretty good guy. He's also called the Bad Astronomer, so you can find him on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. Then Dr. Shini Samara, she has a crash course on physics. This course, obviously being a science, has some physics in it. So occasionally it's nice to look at it from a physics standpoint, but often it's way too complicated. But she gives you, again, like 15-minute little intros to the concepts of various things in physics. And then this is basically the first half of your course. But this is for a sequence where they do it over 2 semesters, and therefore he'll go in a lot more detail. But these are actually lectures and mostly audio, but with their assignments. And the same thing here. This is the part where basically you're just going over stars and then galaxies, whereas the 161, they're going over the sun and the planets and, of course, the science as well. So those are things that'll help you if you feel like you really need some lectures to go with the course. You can do all these things. It'll be really nice. And you'll see this is how a typical week opens up. It'll have a link to the textbook for the given chapter. So that's chapter 1. The student site for the book, that's here. That's going to be here the whole time. I'm not going to put that on every one. There's the chapter 1. There's the homework for chapter 1. And then here's the link to the movie you're supposed to watch to fill out this. And also there will be, I've got to put it up here. There's some videos you can put on this. I will put on this actually right above lab stuff, where I'm going to point you to some videos that I made specifically to help you with this self-addressed envelope. I'm just realizing now that they weren't put up there. But that's the other part I was going to talk to you about. So all these assignments that were due today, the people that did them, I'm giving them extra credit, but the people that didn't do them, I'm giving them till a week from yesterday at 11:59 p.m., a week from then to do them. So we got that. There's week 2, which is what we're starting this week, and the homework's in there and chapter 2's in there, but that's all that's it so far. So I think that's it. I just wanted to give you an intro to the syllabus and introduce myself to you. By all means, let me know if you need any help. I'm very easy to get along with. I will work with you as much as I can. If you get scared, you think it's too hard, you don't understand something, by all means, contact me. I'll set up a private meeting with you, or you can meet me on campus, private meeting like Zoom, or I can meet in a group. So just let me know, and hopefully you guys will have a fun semester. Hope you enjoy astronomy. Have a good day. Bye-bye.